Hey, this is Matt. Welcome back to the channel. Glad you tuned in. In this video, we are not only going to be talking about what can happen if you decide to get a hair transplant in your mid-20s without getting on finasteride first, as well as me sharing live comments or review one of my subscribers' hair transplant. This is what he allowed me. He provided photos and everything which we will be discussing in this video. If you also want me to review your hair transplant, you can contact me on Instagram or email me and send me some photos, and then I can review them also live on this YouTube channel. Before we start with the video, make sure you like it right now if you are enjoying these regular updates on hair loss and hair restoration. And as always, before we start, this video has been brought to you by GoFiber, which are hair building fibers you can use to mask any thinning or patchy areas on your scalp to make your hair look thicker and better. So make sure you check out the link in the video description below where you can visit GoFiber, get a free sample of your choice, and try them out. See if you like them. Hey, this is Matt. Welcome back to the channel once again. If you are somebody who wants to get your hair back to the next level with a hair transplant, but you don't know how to make yourself the best possible hair transplant candidate to begin with, you don't know how to manage your hair loss, how to stabilize your hair loss, then make sure you visit my website, mattdominance.com, as many other guys who want to inform themselves the right way, the proper way, and get the best possible advice that can help them become the better candidate and get the best result, find the best clinic for their hair transplant as well. You can do all that on my website. Also get on a one-on-one call with me if you want my personal guidance and assistance with your hair transplant strategy and researching the best doctor. Hair transplant can be a wonderful thing, and there are many proofs of that. However, it's great to have the ideal setup before in order to enjoy and be able to enjoy a perfect hair transplant result for many, many years without drawbacks, without some negatives, which I'm going to be commenting on in this video. Okay, everybody, so this is one of my subscribers, and that's how he looked like before his hair transplantation. In 2019, he was 26 years old, and we can see him as a Norwood 3 to Norwood 4 transition already. He was pretty much taking the hair from the lateral humps and letting it grow longer and kind of creating the roof. That's how I call it, you know, kind of spiking that hair in the middle and combing that hair over like diffusely thinning mid-scalp right here. That's why I think he might be already Norwood 4 in this photo. And he is only 26 years old, by the way, and he only has been using minoxidil for like 2 or 3 years until this point. So he has done some medication, but he didn't do the most effective that he could have before doing his hair transplant. Okay, now he decides to get 3,000 grafts transplanted. Whether this is 3,000 grafts or not, I'm not gonna be going too deep into. I don't think this is 3,000 grafts, because if I just zoom on it, we can see that the hairline here is not even that dense. Like if we just go here, and this could be roughly a 1 square centimeter, there will be probably only like 30 grafts per square centimeter. I mean, not more, in my opinion. Okay, this is just a very rough estimation, but we will also see it on the regrowth, which is not the most dense. So was it 3,000 grafts? I don't think so. This is not the highest quality photo, unfortunately, in terms of resolution. I apologize for it, but you kind of see these rows, right? The grafts are kind of placed next to one another in these rows here, and it goes like that. And it's not good because, I mean, if the hair will be grown longer, nobody will notice it that much. But the shorter you trim that hair after the surgery, God forbid you will ever want to have a buzz cut, it's going to be obvious. You know, the transplanted hairs are going to be growing in these regular rows, and that's going to be obvious as hell. You will probably need scalp micropigmentation, very, very likely, to mask it, to make it look fuller and also natural while it's buzzed. And that's why I don't like clinics who, you know, implant hair in this regular manner, and it just shows that they're not very skilled. And I also made a video on it, like 5 signs that your freshly transplanted hairline has some mistakes in it, and how to spot it right away after your surgery. So if you are now with a fresh surgery, you can watch this video here. I'm going to link it where you can find out potentially, you know, I'm not saying 100%, that maybe in your hairline there could be some mistakes and you can already spot them. And this is one of them, the regular placement, in my opinion. Now, obviously here we can already see why he was combing combing this hair over the mid-scalp prior to his hair transplant, because look, this is very affected by hair loss already. And sometimes we do not know how bad the situation can look like until we buzz that hair or shave it, and we can see it here how bad it actually looked underneath. And we see that this is already pretty advanced hair miniaturization on the mid scalp, spreading all the way to the crown over there. And here you need to be on medication. You need to take finasteride, at least try it out for 6 to 12 months to see how much you can strengthen that hair. And if you see, or if you find yourself unable to stick to finasteride, you don't respond, you get side effects or whatnot, you're unable to take it long term, then the last thing I would advise would be to lower the hairline, like almost like 4 or 5 centimeters from that start of that diffuse thinning. Like, that's too much. It's like 3,000 grafts. Let's say it's 3,000. They at least took 3,000 from the donor, so it doesn't matter if here it's 3,000 or not. They took 3,000 from the donor. You will probably have only like 2,000-3,000 left. To put it simple, like, there is no way you could cover that, sufficiently in the future with 3,000 plus. There is even the crown area which will be thinning in the future. Okay, so that's very risky to do such a hairline design, or a clinic ideally should not accept the patient who is unwilling to take finasteride with this condition and do such a hairline lowering on him. It's just pretty irresponsible, in my opinion. So in my opinion, it would have been better to maybe do a design which would go like that, and instead of putting the hair lower, I would rather fill that area more. Okay, so the final design could have looked something like that. Okay, and yeah, you have a higher hairline, but hey, that's the price that you're paying for not being on finasteride, and that's why you need to start higher. You cannot afford to go lower if you are not on finasteride, and you already see that not only the hair loss is progressing to the mid scalp and crown, but it's almost already grabbing hair from the lateral humps, which is not good, and you cannot allow yourself to position your hairline so low while not being on finasteride. That's very hazardous. So that was on topic of density, hairline design, and placement of newly transplanted grafts. Now, this is already the result after. This was the right side before, and this is the final result after. And this is already a year or two later after his surgery, maybe even 2 years. And you see that the hair growth is very poor. The hairline is not full at all, especially in this region, and the hair is even longer. If he would want to trim that hair short, we would see obvious gaps, which is definitely not good. So probably the survival rate was also very low. It didn't grow well, because if this would have been 3,000 grafts on that area, as it was outlined here, the density should have been much more fuller. Maybe he didn't have many doubles, triples, could be also the low hair per graft average. That means only maybe less than 2 hairs sprouting out of each follicle on average. Maybe that's the reason why the coverage is not so good, also partially, but also I think the survival was not good, and that could be because of improper manipulation of grafts between the extraction and implantation, storing the grafts improperly, but also placing them too aggressively, not inserting them into the slits properly, and this could damage them and make the survival rate worse. Hairline unfortunately does not look natural either. It doesn't look very soft. If we would zoom in, we probably find even several doubles and even triples in the hairline, because it does look like low density, but also at the same time kind of robust to me. The angles also seem to be quite high on some areas, and they're not very natural for the hairline. If we go to the donor area, we see that they probably did extract 3,000 grafts, because we see that the donor definitely looks touched I would say, for 3,000 graft procedure. So they attempted 3,000 grafts most likely. They did overharvest. This is unfortunately permanent overharvesting because it's already 2 years and more after his initial surgery. That means it's no shock loss. The hair will not grow back anymore. This is overharvesting caused by improper homogenization pattern during the extraction. You know, they did try to cherry pick the follicles in a wrong pattern. That means they tried to pick too many from one little area, and this is causing these white marks and patches on the left side of his donor. That's called overharvesting. This could be repaired with either taking some hairs from healthy side of the donor and placing them in, or taking the beard grafts and placing them into the overharvested area. So this can be repaired. This is not the worst, but yeah, it's a tough thing to handle, and it's a pain in the ass of an issue to deal with, and contact the doctors for repair, and it's also not the cheapest type of repair, so you don't want to be dealing with this type of issue ideally, so we want to avoid it. That's why you should watch this channel and learn from multiple videos that I have already done on this topic. Now, this is pretty much like the end result, what happened after more than 2 years since his hair transplant when he was 26. Now he's 29, so it's almost 3 years, and we see how his hair loss kept on progressing. So let's now come back to the hair loss progression thing. What happened only in 3 years, this whole thing kept on thinning and thinning more. That's the diffuse hair loss, which is going pretty much all the way to the crown. And now he's playing with the thought of jumping on finasteride. And he actually did start finasteride already 6 months ago. And I'm going to be sharing with you also the results that he was able to achieve in 6 months. But unfortunately, he did not start with finasteride earlier, before even him getting his first hair transplant. That was unfortunate. Probably he was too worried, misinformed, who knows, unaware how to microdose finasteride and whatnot, I don't know. But there are certainly things how you can also minimize the exposure to side effects from finasteride using even topical solutions of finasteride, which can be either hydroalcoholic, 0.025%, or higher concentration of 2.5%, but liposomal solutions. These have usually higher concentrations, but they're liposomal. That means that's different vehicle. Unfortunately, there is no study until now which will be comparing liposomal 2.5% finasteride topical versus the hydroalcoholic 0.025% one, and how it affects your scalp versus systemic DHT. It will be definitely an interesting study to see. And with this, I just want to show you guys, you should not underestimate your future hair loss. See, this guy is not even in his 30s. He's very young. He already had a surgery. His donor is overharvested. He still probably has maybe 2,000 grafts in his donor, more or less, in order to avoid some very severe overharvesting. But you see, there is no way 2,000 grafts is going to be enough for this. Obviously, you could spread it over here, but you wouldn't be able to achieve like super amazing, result. It would probably look in terms of density, something like that, maybe even less, if you would try to spread these 2,000 grafts over this. So that's why you need to be on finasteride. You want to avoid this happening to you in the first place. And it's my pleasure to announce you guys that my subscriber was in fact able to recover fairly well from that unfavorable situation that he had 6 months ago only. And after 6 months on oral finasteride, 1 milligram, I believe, every single day, he was able to come to this point. Okay, we obviously see that there is some thickening which happened in the diffusely thinning areas. On the crown, maybe not as much, but in the mid scalp zone, definitely. And I love to see that result. So that's really great. Now, what I already start seeing as well here, what I also start seeing is here that these areas may be a little bit thinner, right? Because since he did not start taking finasteride right after the surgery, there will be the gap which starts forming right after the transplanted zone previously, and kind of separates the transplanted area here below from the hair, from the area with existing hair above. Okay, so this area will very likely need to be strengthened with a hair transplant, maybe something like 5 500 grafts, plus minus maybe 700, depends on how much density he wants there. But yeah, this will unfortunately not be able to be recovered with any treatment anymore. This didn't have to happen because we see that right after the hair transplant that he had, we see that the hair was right behind the transplanted area. So if he had been on finasteride right from the start, even before his hair transplant, this area could have been saved. But here you can already see how it's already balding more on this area, and on this other side it's more preserved, and that's what we can see also on this photo here. So guys, you always want to think like, where is the next area where I'm gonna start thinning? You want to start taking the photos from the top, from the crown, and start seeing for the lighter areas where the hair is lighter, where it's looking thinner, and these are usually the areas which are on the go in the future, maybe even in the near next year or two, like with this subscriber of mine. Guys, that was it, just a brief illustration of this case. If you are somebody who is interested in providing your photos or even videos before, after your surgery, or even your hair loss progress, email me or contact me on Instagram and I can review your hair transplantation case. Make sure you thumb up, subscribe if you're new, if you are enjoying these videos. Visit my website, get my free ebook if you want to inform yourself the proper way before researching a hair transplant doctor and getting a hair transplant. Also, you can get on a one-on-one call with me where I can assist you directly with your choice. I can help you out, get the best result, and tell you what things to avoid, what things to look for if you want to achieve maximum success with your hair transplant. All right, I'm gonna be seeing you soon in another video. Take care.